so excited to share that through Executive Endurance Coaching, I've officially joined Never Second's Coach and Nutritionist program. Never Second is a science-driven performance nutrition brand built specifically for endurance athletes. I've personally been using their fueling system for years in my own training, and I love how simple, precise their approach to carbohydrate fueling is for runners, cyclists, triathletes, you name it. And today, if you want to try Never Second for yourself, our listeners can get 15% off by using the code GRIT15 at checkout. GRIT 15 at checkout. Just head to never2.com and start fueling your training with intention. This episode is brought to you by Koya Performance for Life. Koya combines wearable technology with behavioral science to help you unlock more energy and perform at the highest level. Their coaches have worked with Olympians, Super Bowl MVPs, World Series champions, and other elite performers. Their 12-week program focuses on sleep, exercise, nutrition, mindset, and recovery, blending biometric data from wearables like Oura, Whoop, or Garmin with one-on-one coaching from a team that includes a dietitian, sleep coach, movement specialist, and mental performance coach. I'll personally be participating in their March cohort and will be sharing updates with you along the way so you can hear exactly what the experience is like. Grit Files listeners today receive 33% off the program using the code AGRANDOFF. Visit koya.life to learn more. Hello, welcome to the Grit Files. I'm your host, Laura Reynolds, and today I have one of my closest friends. You like how I said that first. I led with friend. Also my trainer of, what did we just decide?
20,
like 15 years.
18, yeah.
Something like that. So, God, like a long time. Carolyn is the owner and founder of her fitness gym now called Tight. And prior to that, ASL interpreter, spent a lot of time in the medical field. Also, you spent a time in the big gym environment. So we're going to be unpacking all of that today. And for my listeners who cannot see, we always kind of start with a quote that is put up on the whiteboard behind me. And today's quote is, "It's a privilege to keep becoming the version of yourself that you promised yourself you'd be." And I think that that's a big part of Carolyn's story is like there's an evolution that's involved with continuing to become this version of yourself that you promised yourself you'd be. And in a vulnerable moment, we've had a lot of conversations about that as it pertains to my own growth. So we'll get into some of that as well. So Carolyn, before we talk about the titles, the credentials, how do you currently define yourself in this season of life? And just for context, Carolyn has a husband, 2 kids. She's caring for elderly parents. So, and also is the lead trainer of her home gym. So how do you define yourself in this season?
In my season, I think I define myself as someone who, to kind of go back to your quote here for just a hot second, it's a privilege to do what I do. It's a privilege to care for the people I have to care for. So with that armor, I feel like every day I have a lot of strength to do what I do, even though some days feel really hard.
Yeah.
And I think that can be for anybody, but for me personally, and only speaking on myself, where I sit now is I have a level of security in whom I want to be, how I want to reflect that to whom I choose to spend my time with. I choose carefully, and I guard myself and what I hold dear with a lot of grace, and knowing what and who brings me joy and keeps me going and moving forward in everything that I have to do, which on some of the things that I have to do are uncomfortable.
Oh yeah. We've talked about a lot of those. You've been a trainer for over a decade, an ASL interpreter, a caregiver, a business owner, but who is Carolyn? And this is a big one. Who is Carolyn when the work stops? Because there's a big theme that we've kind of had that's an underlying thread in the Grit Files, and that's, you know, our identity outside of our title and outside of what we do, whether it be as an athlete, as a parent. So when the work stops, you put the TRX bands away, you turn the lights off in the garage. Who's Carolyn?
A piano player, actually.
That's Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've played classical piano since I was young. I also learned to love languages. French and German have been something that have been with me for a long time. And I'm a huge cook and baker. Way before all of this, I used to own my own cookie business and do those Martha Stewart decorative cookies. And so there's a big artistic left brain quality to me that doesn't show up, and nor would anybody even recognize in what I do on the daily. Going downstairs and playing classical music, people would be like, wait, now what? You know, because that is just not, I am a 90s rap enthusiast.
Right.
There's
no piano going on in the gym when I train.
Tribe Called Quest. I am certainly not Chopin and Bach and all of those. Yet that brings me a lot of peace. That is a big grounder for me. I often go downstairs and somebody upstairs would be able to know what my mood is on how I'm playing downstairs. That's right. So there's the like centerpiece there that maybe somebody meeting that Carolyn or that piece would kind of be like, you'd probably have a reaction and be like, what? Well, wow, look at that. You know, like that, what? You know? And I think that's really when the lights come off, where I go, when, you know, the gym is down and done. Sometimes I feel like in this field, because it's so all-encompassing, people expect the people that work in this industry that this is entirely who they are. And for me in the beginning, I was a runner, but again, I didn't grow up playing an organized sport. I grew up skiing, but I was never on an official like ski thing. Nothing was to a limit or to an end range that I'd be like, oh my God, well, when I accomplished A, B, C, D, and E in this athletic place, I decided I wanted to be a trainer. That wasn't like it at all. So my entering into this almost came through the back door and then went, so that makes sense to me that when I close my door and I come in, it has nothing to do with that. Yeah. Which I'm unsure if that sits with everybody and that's fine. But I don't know if that's everybody's, you know, I don't know. But it's truly mine.
Yeah. And it's fun. I mean, so I don't know if you're familiar with Lucy Davis, but she's big high rocks athlete. And she's big on, especially recently, posting like both can be true. Like you can be super strong and have a really soft side. You can get like really gritty and lift heavy weights and still be really into makeup. And you can be super health conscious, but also have a glass of wine, like be into baking. And for you, I know we've had conversations about even like some of your clients who run into you passively, like at the grocery store or when they go to dinner.
Cart and be like, what are you buying? And I'm like,
they're like, is that butter? And you're like, yeah,
that's butter. And I really like butter jam on bread.
Right.
You know, so I mean,
bread is just the vessel. We need the butter. And I mean, we've had that conversation about dinners too. It's like, there's a softer side of this. Like both can be true. I can show up as like this really strong, you know, that's my profession. But I know that to be true. You and I have gone to dinner a number of times, and we both love a glass of wine. We love an old fashioned. We love our bread. That's so,
right. And is my favorite word.
Yes, we talked about that.
Because when you say but, it gives more fire to the phrase after the but, right? So you say something, well, I love butter, but it's so bad for you. Everybody's only hanging on to it's so bad for you. And creates there's an equal amount of importance on both. I love the gym and I love not being in the gym. I love working out and I love playing the piano. Yeah. One isn't crushing the other. One doesn't supersede the other. It's really keeping that dichotomy of two things, and they're both okay to live in the same space. Yeah. And as I'm saying that out loud is kind of, I guess, that message that I give all the athletes that walk into my gym, right? in your head, you could want to be here and not really want to be
Oh
here.
my
either.
gosh. We've had that conversation a million. Like, you can be fit and have a moment of being tired. That's like, I think
Or
people get
and
stuck
the
in
moment
that.
of I don't want to do it.
Right.
I really
Yeah.
don't want to be here today.
Yeah.
And then but I think understanding that is going to create the consistency you need to make it a lifestyle.
Yeah.
When you make something so much bigger than the other, you fall off.
Right. Right. And the but does force kind of more of the negative possibility
It's on
in
the
something.
second end of the sentence.
Oh, yeah. Because we've talked about me using that all the time. And you're like, what if it's an and? What if
Yeah.
it's not a but?
How about we get rid of the but?
Yes.
And try the and.
Yeah.
And then actually, to be honest, if you threw the and in there, it's a little also more honest.
Yeah.
It just creates a little bit more honesty, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So that's who I am. You know, I'm huge into fashion. My
Yeah.
gosh. You know, and those are things that I don't know are the same conversation that everybody that sits in my position as a trainer
Yeah.
has, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But there was a time that I thought that wasn't okay. And that would make you think like, oh my God, if I don't want to always eat, think, and drink and breathe, working out and moving and blah, blah, blah,
Right, like you
am
lose
I
credibility.
this good? I would
Yeah.
lose credibility.
Yeah.
Am I really practicing what I'm preaching?
Yeah.
And that, as you mentioned before, like as you evolve, or when we're talking about who is Carolyn now, that takes a little bit to find and settle into and be okay with being.
Yeah.
Because even though you could be like, yeah, but that's who I am, you could still be uncomfortable there. And now I'm really like, yeah, no, I like both spaces. They both feel really good.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's, I mean, just to add one more thing to that piece is we've had this conversation as of late, like pretty frequently, but like using the and in what you are even. Like, I think people have felt like they're either a client or a friend.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people lead with, this is my trainer. And that's been like the identity that's associated to you. And that's tough to kind of, because you're
as
so
a
much more than
person,
that. Right.
And the relationship that I bring into training, and the thing that I think the word that's missing from this, as we keep saying training, is personal comes before that.
Mm-hmm.
And to kind of, make this all encompassing is when you walk in, it's personal because I have to ask you a ton of questions. You're now going to, let's even start by how old are you? Feels personal, feels different at all stages of the game.
Yeah.
What meds are you on? That want. There's a lot of things. How much do you weigh? Or like what, there's all these like things that are personal, and then we talk about some other things. And then as we move forward, and in my career, I've also found the harder we start working, or the more we start getting into some of the places that are sticky, out come a lot of sticky thoughts.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of times that I had a client once who went into a plank, and I think she was up there 3 minutes and then literally just sobbed.
Oh, was it me?
And it was no, it wasn't.
It was me.
And no, we'll get to yours later. But
I'm a sobber every session.
It was one of those that were like, okay, are you in pain? And she was like, no, this is so overwhelming for me.
Yeah.
She was a deconditioned human at the moment, and did that, and it felt really big, a big moment. So I guess maybe something else I had to learn, or just how it's been, is that I got so personal with people also because this is such an exchange.
Yeah.
That I wanted it to be an and a friend. Like I really was like, yeah, I'll be your trainer. Oh, and I want to be your friend.
Yeah.
Or supporter, or confidant, or let's add any other word in there.
Therapist.
For me, and therapist, counselor. I don't know, wherever you want to put me. But for me personally, because how invested I am and was in these humans, I needed something more of a title than trainer.
Yeah.
For me. So maybe that was my own thing that I didn't want to just be the trainer. I was like, no,
Yeah.
we gotta be more than this.
Yeah.
Because we are on this together, and I am right beside you. You know, sometimes behind you, sometimes in front of you, and then sometimes next to you. You know, so in those situations, I always wanted to be classified as something more than just a trainer.
Yeah. I think that's common in that field. For listeners meeting you for the first time, and I'm familiar with this story, but a lot of people are probably not. What's the story behind creating Tight and deciding to build something that didn't yet exist? And we met when we first started working together. You were in a big gym. We can leave names out of it, but you know, we've talked about before how sometimes you get stuck in this thought of like, God, what am I doing wrong? Because you aren't noticed in the way that you want to be noticed, or things you feel like you're the resistance in a situation because you want to provide something that isn't yet there. And then maybe that's the thing is like, it's not that you're wrong. It's that people don't know what they don't know. And maybe you need to create the thing that's not yet there. So talk to me about creating that and deciding to leave big gym, create Tight.
Yeah, I think for me, that creating what wasn't there was when I started in a big gym, or just even the mindset wasn't something that I 100% subscribed to. I tried because that's on paper, you know, all the things, and I don't even want to get into them because it doesn't matter. I didn't exactly subscribe to what I was seeing.
Right.
And then as a result of that, I was seeing, and I'm not talking about results driven, I'm talking about feeling driven. A lot of people rubbing shoulders, rubbing backs after these, you know, intense or classes or all the things. And I was always like, isn't there another, like, how can this be better? Or like, is there another way to go about this? And that started my thinking on what's my space going to be here, because I knew I wasn't a power lifter. That was not my space. But what I started to find my space in was the power lifters coming to me because they can't move very well. They weren't feeling good overall, you know? And that's where that maybe wasn't entirely there yet. I don't want to take away from any of the other trainers, but that's where my space started to develop. I was like, oh, I see. There's like a big range here that people coming back from injury, athletes who have had injuries years ago that really aren't fully integrated back into a great, healthy, moving person. People who still want to do a lot of things, but their body's not responding like it used to. That's my space. Yeah. That's my space to start finding what's loaded mobility like. What is moving along all of your fascial lines look like? And that's what started getting into like yummy anatomy meets fitness, meaning like lifting weights, meeting injury cycle, meeting all, and then the therapy part the mental part of, I can remember 9,000 people coming to be like, I used to enter whatever. I used to play football. I used to play field hockey. I don't do anything now. Yeah. Oh, I want to live in that space. And my answer always when they would come to me and be like, do you think I could ski again? And I would say, let's see where and like how you can ski. Moguls? Unsure. Right. But let's see how we can get there. And I think that's what brought about, well, the situation to open Tight actually came from COVID. My father was very ill at that time. I was his primary caregiver. I needed to have more control of my environment in terms of who was coming in, how to make sure everybody
literal exposure.
Literally my exposure, and limiting that to people that could respect the situation that I was in, with no judgment to anybody that went to a gym. I just couldn't run the risk of being exposed on a wide level. And then my dad, would fall, blah, blah, blah. And now I have to go over there, and it just wasn't going to work. So once the gym closed and I came came back home, I actually was unsure if that was it for me. I thought, well, maybe we'll wait and see what happens when we open up. And honestly, I joke with clients now that I still have that. I'm like, you bullied me into doing this, because everybody then started texting.
We did like
going,
the virtual classes.
They were like, what are you doing? We don't need that. We need you.
Yeah.
And see, like, these are these little points that I try to like point out to people that are maybe lost along the way. Those are these glimmers, if you want to do all like the new age stuff or whatever. It was the first time that I was like, wait a minute. You're actually, you want me, Carolyn, not I want a trainer. That never came out. That was
you.
We're looking to follow you.
Yeah.
And those conversations led me to talk to my husband and be like, how can I make this work? And from there, it was still open air. I created a TRX, big group on a tennis field.
Oh my gosh, I remember. Yes. We like hooked into the actual.
I brought my own music. And I am often reminded from people that was a huge thing that was happening there, because people did desire connection, but we were all on that same page, like can't be closed in a room. We were out there, mist, dare I say some flurries, boiling hot.
Yeah.
That went on for a long time. And then through there came the evolution of Tight, and then turning a piece of my home into something that was exciting to furnish the way I wanted it.
Yeah.
I never used machines, so there's no machines in there, right? A lot of times people come in, they're like, I don't know what we do with any of this. And that's okay, because your body's the machine, in my opinion, and we're going to make that work. So that's kind of how that played out. And Tight, I knew that in a second, because like in New York, growing up, the joke was always like, well, we're tight.
Yeah.
You always did that.
Right.
That was a connection. We're tight. So that meant something to me first, that I was like, yeah, everybody in here, we're going to be tight.
It's a Queens girl, folks.
That's it.
Grew up in Queens.
And then the second part was, I don't know of really anybody that has ever walked in and is like, I'm incredibly flexible. I actually feel great. Everything is always then, there's something going on that's tight. And then on the flip side of that, people are like, I want to feel like tight.
Right.
I want to get it. I want to rein it back in. So there was a lot of nuances of that word for a business mantra, title, all the things that felt right to me.
Yeah.
But the first, and always, everybody always thinks it's related to muscles. And here we go back around again. No, it was always the connection.
Yeah. The community element.
We're tight.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a sick logo, by the way. Everybody's going to see it when the episode drops and we've got the carousel. She'll see the logo.
But yeah, that's really how that came to be.
Yeah.
How that title came up.
Awesome. On this podcast, obviously, we talk a lot about grit, but not necessarily the loud, like highlight reel kind. How has your definition, and we've talked about this a little bit offline, but how has your definition of grit changed in the past few years? I know we talked kind of specifically about even the evolution of like what training looked like. When we first started working together, it was like P90X days and like Peloton days and like the hit, like let's blow ourselves all the way up type workouts. And they've shifted phenomenally since then.
But as they should.
Absolutely.
And I'm saying that to say to everybody that that's growth in your life, right? I have clients from 15 to 87. I would not say the 15-year-old is so strong and my 87 is not. It's just a range of how that rolls out. And everybody that comes in, it's so different. It looks different for every single person that comes in there. Not really, very few people do the exact same thing. I have nothing written down from you. I give away all my secrets, but I watch how you walk to my front door. I watch how you walk up the stairs. I watch how you put your things down.
Big diagnostician.
It's already
what's going on here with this walk? What happened last night?
And then what you're carrying.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they'd be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And no, I'm fine. No, what's going on, right?
Yeah.
Like, so there's a lot of, to your point, filtering and diagnostic work in someone coming to my space. And that's what's already starting to fuel me to be like, all right, we're going to play here.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, all the things comes out. And there's very rarely a time that I think somebody leaves that didn't get the workout that they needed.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not always what you expected, but I would say that like everybody's like, yeah, I didn't know we were going
I
here.
can attest to that. Yeah.
And clearly that's what we needed.
Yeah.
And
Sometimes just laying on the floor with her dog. Her
With
dog joins the training session sometimes. And sometimes that's just what I need. I'm like, I just need Tucker today.
Yeah. So in that sense, what is, you're asking me the definition of grit.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That grit, at times can be just showing up, being brave enough to share, being brave enough to do things that make you shake because they're not your strongest area and your ego is screaming, this is so stupid. Why am I doing this? Da, 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 da. And we're still doing it. All the things. That's the grit that I think is so relatable to everybody. And what's amazing is that even in here, you're able to show the huge spectrum of grit, the grit of the person running the 50K, the whatever, to the person that is leaving a home that's, really sad every day to come and train with me, or something going on that's so big that it encompasses everything, but they're there. Every movement they do is strength and getting through the grit of what's pulling them back to not be there on every level, I think, from a high-level athlete to the athlete that just walks every day, to the athlete that just moves.
This kind of will piggyback on that. But what does grit look like when it's not pushing harder, but it is slowing down? I feel like we've got a lot of, there's a lot of type A elite athletes who are coming in and this, just break me. Be like, make it harder, make me hurt more. What does that look like when it's the conversation of like, look, like this isn't sustainable. Like
that's hard.
You got to pull back.
Yeah. So there's grit and recovery. Anybody who's had an injury and an injury that's ended something for somebody for now, the grit is slowing down, taking small movements when you know you're capable, or we have that narrative that keeps going back to, oh my God, I used to bench 210.
You're like, right, you were 21.
Yeah.
So.
But or well, your rotator is completely trying you. I mean, like those kind of things. But there is a lot for the people that are a very high amp worker outer. Slowing down is just as hard as the person that likes to stay slow when I'm asking them to speed up, right? But recovery, mobility, these are things that when I take a very high-level athlete and I slow them down, we learn so much.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times in that slowdown, I actually cue you to stop, and we go up the chain. Where's your big toe? Let me feel your knee. And those are moments that then start getting really uncomfortable. We're getting really shaky. Things are starting to find end range failure. And that's where we learn so much. In the slowdown, in the not so quick, in the pulling back, in the let's recover and integrate you back, because through your injury you haven't used this, or this is compensating, and now we're coming back to it, and it's so hard.
Well, like mind work of it too.
I was just going to say, because you keep rolling back to, I can't believe it. This shouldn't be that hard. If I had a nickel for every time I heard that, I'd be, this doesn't seem like this should be that hard. Yeah, but when it's your weakness, it's super hard.
Yeah.
And there's grit there, right?
Yeah. And even like slowing down and acknowledging like what's the emotion behind your relationship with going hard all the time? Like, what is that? And I feel I've even been on the receiving end of those conversations where you're like, what is the actual goal here? Like, how many miles do we want to run? Why? Why are you running back-to-back 50Ks? Okay. And, you know, how do you expect to train with your quads and not blow them out? Like, what is going on mentally behind those decisions? And I think you've been able to unpack a lot of that with me, I can say firsthand, but I imagine that that's probably a similar theme with the elite athletes, not me, I'm not one, but like the ones that would be true, like ex-collegiate athletes or current collegiate athletes, high school athletes, like the whole mindset behind, like, what are you pushing for? What is the goal here? And there's usually something bigger.
Usually something bigger.
Yeah. Or like an expectation on them or for themselves.
Yes. I think when one does something a lot and at an intensity, you know, again, to use sign a bit, you know, keeps you like this.
We're floating our hands frantically, folks, for the
like
ones that are listening.
That's right.
We're signing. We're getting animated.
Yeah. It's just a lot of noise around your head, right? That keeps a lot of intrusive thoughts away.
Yeah.
Because you're busy.
Yeah.
You're busy in a way that doesn't allow anything else to come into your head except for you're actually trying to breathe because you're so busy in your body. And so I recognize that that's addicting for people then that maybe when they're not busy, what comes in is really large.
Yeah.
And so hard, right?
Yeah.
And can be so, and can run the gamut of being so sad. It could be frightening. It could be like so many things that the things then that you pour everything into and you keep yourself so busy and so, I'm just going to keep saying busy. Yeah. It doesn't allow that other stuff to come in. And you know, isn't that maybe where, to cycle all the way back to who is Carolyn now or how do I sit in my business? It's also what all of my clients have taught me, this exchange loop, right? Of figuring out, like, I could tell you where to put your foot, where to put your toe, where to put, you know, but I don't always understand what you're feeling doing all of that and what you need me truly to be for you. Yeah. And that's going to change daily too, much like your workouts have changed. When you came to me pregnant, that is a different human you needed me to be, right? Yeah. And then there was another time where, you know, whatever, change of job, you needed
running of the track when I hated running.
You hated running?
Like, she couldn't get me to run.
The fact that you're a runner, we're going to put a pin in that. But that's a way that I also have to keep changing for everybody so differently, right? And it can go the same as I train a lot of parents and then they send me their kids. And then now I have this like, I have to sit in the middle of this, right? Because this kid has a right to have his own session with me at mom and dad. So, you know, there's a lot of navigation with all the faces that one might need that day, that I also think the more seasoned you are in the place that I'm at, the better you get at too. And that comes from the loop of being brave to do it, right? Because every day I could just show up and be like, you know what, Laura, I get it. You're not feeling it today, but let's go, you know? And funny enough, I did that once. I had somebody, and I still train her. This is back in like 2017. We were walking the track, and she told me, prior to working out, she told me a big story about something that was going on and really said to me, you know what, Carolyn, I'm like not feeling up to this, but wanted to come. And I was really a new trainer, and I was like, all right, okay, let's just get going. Let's see how you move. And I took a slam ball, wasn't even a heavy one, and I wanted to do some chest throws with her. And I was like, all right, let's get an athletic stance. And I threw the ball at her a normal way. she caught it and broke her finger.
Oh.
Literally, I was like, right?
Yeah.
And she knows it. We still train.
Yeah.
We talk about that all the time. It wasn't a massive break. She jammed, whatever.
Right.
But point being was not ready.
Right.
That was not the ready state that we were in.
Yeah.
That was, I credit her all the time for that one thing. I walked away from there, first of all, devastated. No one on my watch do I ever want to not feel great, But from that, I thought, there it is.
Yeah.
Sit higher in your chair. Be better than everybody's goal that they constantly think they want.
Right.
Because sometimes you're not ready for that goal. And I need to be the person, even if you leave me and don't train with me, I need the person to be like, we're going to kind of meet where you are, but I'm going to keep lifting you up.
Right.
But then we're going to meet where you are, and then we're going to, but my agenda at that point was not hers.
Right.
That taught me like literally an invaluable lesson that I have kept going my whole career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that's like your superpower is to really identify when that's going on. This one's a big one because I'm not sure. Maybe most of your clients are aware of it now, but outwardly, you wouldn't have anything that suggests that you're going through any level of really hard. You've experienced the loss of your father, and you're actively caring for your aging mom and for Brian's parents as well. How has caregiving reshaped your understanding of strength? Because you've got strength in the gym, but wow, showing up and your father passed away, who was like a very prominent figure in your life.
Yeah.
So how has that journey shaped strength for you?
That during that time, that was a 3-year stretch. So that was a long time, not horrifying every day, but a lot of uncomfortable. Showing up in the gym and still holding to all those tenets that we're talking about, assessing everybody else and all this. Meanwhile, the reel in the back of my head, some of the phone calls that I had to take, that kind of stuff could really take me out of the game, but I had to, stay in that. I couldn't figure out what I was feeling at that point. And my conversation always about that was like, I was living with an itchy wool sweater.
Oh, that's a big one. We like this one.
Yeah. And we all know what that feels like. At some point of our life, as a little one, your mother threw on a sweater and you didn't put on the undershirt and you were all day like, oh my gosh. It's not that you can't function. It's not that in some aspects the itchy wool sweater was kind of warm. There were things about it that wouldn't end your day, but it certainly was something that kept you uncomfortable. You always knew it was there. In certain positions, it was worse than others. If it got hot, it itched more, right? And that gave me a lot of conversation starters when it would be a particularly more itchy day. Yeah. For me, instead of going into it to be like, ooh, would really like to take that sweater off today, but it's gotta be there, and I gotta move on. For some reason, creating that comparison or that euphemism for me created a lot of strength because I couldn't hide it. This is what was going on. Yeah. And yet there were so many things that I still continue to have to do that, oh my gosh, I still don't want to do. Yeah. But you have to. The best way to put that forward is to be like, oh, it's going to be an itchy wool day today. And just let it be that. Yeah. And I think that also, it kept it real for a lot of people. And I think, a lot of people that are sitting in this season, I have a lot, are like, it's exactly what it feels like. I didn't know that's what it felt like.
When you said it, it was so weird because I had a day like that where I was like, God, everything just feels so heavy and like
uncomfortable.
Yeah.
You don't know where to put yourself.
Yeah.
but yet you can't take it off. It's just there. So it's finding every single thing else for the rest of the day while still having that itchy wool sweater on. And sometimes you forget about it because you kind of get yourself into something else, and then the phone rings, or then something's needed, and there it is again.
There it is. There's the uncomfy.
So the answer of strength to that is, the strength is just to do what you got to do with that sweater on.
Yeah. And how do you feel like you were able to continue to show up physically and emotionally for your clients when you personally were dealing with some pretty heavy things?
Same idea. I think I felt like every day I really do feel like it's a privilege for me to be there. It's a privilege for me to walk alongside so many people that trust me with their mental health, physical health. And, I have very little time in terms of doing anything for myself. So it was never lost on me that not only the time people were carving out to spend with me, the money that they were putting out to spend with me, that means something to me. That is not lost on me. That is not flippant. That is something. And so therefore, that requires me to show up, to still be all the things, but I am going to be authentic and transparent enough to say, yikes, I might cry in the middle of this too.
We've had those.
But we're going to keep going.
Right.
And I think that's how let's go back to, that's how that personal stays in my training. I can call it training all you want, but like, I can never not have that personal in front of it because I feel like that's what's going to keep you. And you could train with me 6 weeks, 4 weeks, 10 years. I have the whole gamut. I want you to maybe hear my voice in your head at various times when necessary.
Yeah.
So that's what keeps me going.
Yeah. We're going to put a big wool sweater on you with this topic. And it probably is for most people that are in this phase. But you specialize in mobility, and you now are personally navigating perimenopause and changes in your own body. So what has that done for you by way of maybe an imposter syndrome that's come up? Because this is your craft. Like, you specialize in mobility, and you've talked with me before where like you've woken up and been like, I don't have full mobility in my hip, and like all of the scans are like, you're good, sister, but you're not good. Like, these are hormonal changes, and your body is going through different temperature changes. You're sweating, you're cold, whatever the thing. And you're the expert, quote unquote. So like, how has this impacted you?
I'm the expert, but the truth of this whole thing, and I'm using expert in like air quotes here, but the truth of this whole thing is that, I've heard this a million times before too, is that there is an aesthetic that I have to pull forward because that means something to somebody when they're coming to improve their own aesthetic. Isn't that like more like, I need you to practice what you preach? The conundrum and the funny part of that when we speak on that is it really only applies to certain categories of people that we hire in our life, right? So we could probably all think back onto the countless amount of dentists that have come in and when they go to speak to you, smell like they smoke.
Right, like if they have jacked up teeth, absolutely not.
Right, but yet, like mine smoked a cigar, like my whole like elementary, and it was kind of like, I'm not sure if that's good for your teeth, but we're going to keep coming, right? Like, so my point is that there's a lot of times that like we overlook the things for what they know, right? Like an overweight doctor or this or that, like just all these different things, right? But a trainer is somebody that exudes all the things we speak on, right? So enter this season of where I sit, right? Age-wise, all the things. My knee isn't behaving so nicely, right? My hip isn't behaving so nicely.
There's some ear symptoms
there's
that no one knew that was a peri symptom.
There were so many things.
Yeah.
And we're not even talking about all the ancillary, the itchy ear, the kind of hair thinning, the this and that. All of these things that for so long has been unwavering. And now every day you wake up and you're like, why am I feel like I am feeling and looking, appearing, everything's so different? Like, what is happening? Yet my course is staying the same. I'm doing all the same.
Yeah.
So here's this idea of pivoting, of how has your training changed? How has my training changed? All of a sudden I'm sitting in this space like, nobody told me about this.
Yeah.
Like, what this? And then it starts trickling to all these other things, all these people coming in. I had 3 women frozen shoulder, researching that. So now this took like one way of training to now I took a hard right to be like, this doesn't work this way anymore. This is, but then on top of that, what helped me get through that was it was incredibly relatable.
Yeah.
For me, personally, to be able to stand in front of somebody and be like, 6 pounds are on in like 2 months. And when I tell you I am doing literally 0 different, I am sitting in this space with you.
Yeah.
And we're going to navigate this. And I'm also going to tell you why, because now I'm this insane person researching everything there is to know about this. And some of the things, Laura, are almost like, well, we're just going to kind of sit in this until this passes by and some things settle down, and then we can attack it another way.
It's still like a new conversation. I know it's like a hot topic right now. I feel like people are finally starting to socialize the topic, but it's still new. So we're still like, there are not a lot of doctors that are sitting having the conversation. It's all of us that are having it behind the scenes and like, is this a perimenopause symptom or is this a period symptom? Like this is a... It
and
reminds me of
like
the days when you think you're pregnant and you're like, what? It's also very similar to like a
and why am I crying? I'm crying about nothing.
This could mean
and now
so
we're
many
both
things.
Crying. And there's your relatable piece, right? Like, yeah, I can coach you, but no, like, ooh, I know, sister, like right where you're at right now.
Right.
Like, I get it.
Yeah.
I am done with it also, or I am ready for this to settle down, or, again, someone walking in and I'm going, don't know who you're getting today, but I mean, and I don't know, you'd have to ask, clients or people that I've touched or even your own experience. I feel like that honesty, that transparency, you work for somebody like that.
Yeah.
I want to work for somebody like that. I value somebody like that. Perfection is really just a false anchor.
Yeah.
It's not there. So the more I feel like I can change and learn and grow again with all of my clients, I really think that just keeps them. And my major goal is I want you to be a lifelong mover. I want you to age with such strength. And I mean age from birth to up, right? Like I'm not talking about that you're good until you're not. No. I want so much longevity for people in their movement space, because I feel like that's what keeps you in this room of feeling young.
Yeah.
Being able to move. Anybody that's had an injury, anybody that's had anything happen to them, that you take away the ability to be mobile, you learn real quick how important being mobile is.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And so my space, and maybe not always feeling my best, the way I turn that around is I'm sitting right behind you and I'm still doing it. I'm still giving it a really hard go here, as I'm going to be your let's keep going partner.
Humanizes you.
Yeah.
'Cause you're literally in it with everybody.
With everybody else.
Yeah.
Yep. And I've had all those years before this time too. So I know what that feels like too.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what they talk about, the privilege of getting older, right? Like when you're when you're 20, it's hard for you to speak on being 60. You don't have those experiences to have a schema to be like, oh, well, find an hour to work out. And that 40-year-old is like, I have 4 kids and I have this and I have that. That 20-year-old isn't there yet. It's not their fault.
Right.
It's just they're not.
But
that 40-year-old knows what the 20-year-old is like because we've been there, right? Not all the things, but we kind of do.
Yeah.
So I guess maybe that's just the growth of all things.
Yeah. Getting a little bit personal here for a moment because that's what we do, you and I. Yeah. You've trained me personally through some massive life moments, through COVID, pregnancy, marriage, divorce, and some very emotional moments, including literally crying on like the floor together. I mean, I've been in like fetal position, crying and being like,
yeah.
From your perspective, what does it mean to coach the whole human and not just the body? I mean, that I saw it in real time, but like,
what does it mean to me?
Yeah.
What does it mean to me? Tell me more. Like what?
I guess, what have you witnessed in transitions like that to about resilience in people during their hardest life transitions? Like how has that kind of taught you to develop strength in a different way for them?
So on those days then when that happens, there's nothing else that was going to happen that day.
Right.
Right. And right there for me, it's the bravery sounds like a very dramatic word. It's the allowance of letting that happen, leaning into that.
Yeah.
And seeing where it goes.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can last for a few minutes and we talk through some things and then it's, well, let's just get up and move through some things.
Go for a walk. This feels
see
like a
what
walk session.
It feels like a walk session, right? Yeah, but for me, those moments that I'm invited into, first of all, are incredibly raw and personal for that human going through that. So again, it's a privilege. Maybe that's the perfect quote for me today. I don't know, but it seems like that's exactly.
I didn't even pay you to say this.
I know
it's
that
just plugged privilege a couple times.
But it is, and I'm very grateful that I can stand and be next to people that are, if we're rocking and we're crying, we are in some pretty big things that feel like that's where we need to sit and work through some things. The physical will come later, but there's always so much growth out of that.
Yeah.
Always. There has never been a time actually that I've been privy to that someone has gone backwards.
Yeah.
I feel like from those are always upward moments. We dug a little deep and then we really rise up and create even bigger things that maybe wouldn't have been possible if we weren't there.
Yeah.
If we weren't rocking and crying.
Yeah.
So that's what I see. That's what I see a lot. Yeah.
Kind of getting close to the end here. But you and I talk about kind of the state of the world now, right? Which is just crazy. We don't need to go political or anything like that, but just we're in this time in the world where, it constantly tells us that our story has to be big, dramatic, or public in order to matter. Do you think, though, that we're collectively craving simpler?
I think we're collectively craving simpler, and I think we are screaming as loud as we possibly can without making a noise that we need connection. And I'm going to go back to that personal in front of the training. Yeah. And even those people that said to me leaving the gym, we want you, we don't need the gym. Like these are cues through your life, and even where we sit now, where everybody's just swiping, and really has the story of people they don't even know that don't even live in their state. Right. They know their whole story, yet are feeling the most lonely they've ever been in their life, right? Yeah. I think right now connection is massively needed. I think it's required. Necessary for sustainability, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel the same way. It's like, I think we're all at this point where we're over this whole image thing. Everybody's craving raw. Everybody's craving, connection and authenticity. And like, let's get some honesty up in here, because you guys are full of shit that life is this pretty. Like, let's be real with each other.
Yeah. And I think for me, a lot of people have made criticisms, and I mean that just in maybe like feedback, not a criticism. I am not a social media person. Right. I don't have a presence online.
No, I know. You made it very difficult to collect some pictures for your carousel. So
I don't have I have no carousel of my achievements with all the things I've done and been privy to and been a part of, right? When I first started Tight, it was all clients that came over from the gym. Yeah. And I remember when my husband and I sat down and we looked at a business plan, he's like, "Do you have a goal?" And I said, "I'm going to need somebody who didn't know me at the gym become a new client." I don't know how that's going to happen, right? And I actually own a website. Yeah. Somewhere. Wix, I think it's called, right?
I haven't launched mine either. I'm
unsure.
like,
right. Yeah, I think I own my name somewhere out there.
Somewhere.
So, with that being said, Brian was like, okay, like, good luck with that. I don't know. Like, you're nowhere to be found, right? Right. And I remember the very first person that came in that knew of somebody that came here, that came to me. And we started, and I still train her now from COVID, right? And that started happening. And then it was, well, I need now 2 people. I need to find out. And
wasn't
then
enough
I need
to talk about this.
Right. But point being, that meant something to me. To, am I worth it enough for you to tell somebody about me? I love that. Yeah. Because that's what I do. Yeah. And doesn't that cycle back to, what are people craving? Talk about me. Let me talk about you. Yeah. Let's have a conversation that I could bring up somebody that touched me so deeply that I want them to do that for you. Not Google search trainers in Hartford County. Right. I am not saying that's a bad way to do it.
Most followers, with most likes.
Just, and then that's how you do. That's how I pick a hairdresser, right? You go back, you look at all their. If somebody literally was like, "Carolyn, oh my God, this girl is so blah 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 blah," that meant something to me. Yeah. I didn't know if it was going to work. I really didn't. I was hoping it would.
You don't in entrepreneurship. I don't care who says that they're sure. You really don't.
But that was something that meant something to me, that I felt was a marker of the impact I was going to have in my little ripple, my little pond. What kind of ripple could I do? Yeah. Because I was so uncomfortable.
Should we call it a riffle? Feels right.
Oh, it does feel right. I mean, that's right in there. But
love that. If someone listening feels like they're in a quiet season of transformation, body changes, caregiving, identity shifts, what would you want them to remember about themselves?
I want them to remember about themselves that time in showing up counts, even 5 minutes. Yeah. 10 minutes. That means something. It's worth something. And like everything in life, you'll build on that 5 minutes. Yeah. Because it's going to do something. There's strength in the tiniest steps. As we can see, I'm going to go back to that injury cycle of somebody who struggled to do something and then did it even 4 degrees. The whole, training floor lights up. Yeah. Small degrees make something. Small amounts of effort do something. And depending on where you sit, depending on the uncomfortable or the grit or your itchy wool sweater, every single thing that you do don't give it a value, a negative value, because you don't think it's enough.
Yeah.
It's enough if that's where you're sitting, you can do, and then build on that. That's grit, that's strength, that's showing up, that's all those things that people like to wear on their t-shirts, but it's tested when you really don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
And I hear a lot of times, well, what is 5 minutes going to do? I'm not going. It's going to actually do a lot because you did it. And you can say, yesterday I did 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Today I did 8. Today I did 12. Today I did 20. Wow, I actually went for a walk today. And all of a sudden, you're not even going to remember when 5 minutes was such a chafe to get done. And what did that do? It built strength, but without judgment.
Yeah.
I think that's what is such a killer. We're in this judgy
Hate
era.
Hate it.
And too many people back off because they're already judging it themselves. I think that's so wrong.
Yeah.
I think it's so wrong. So I've seen so much change come from the smallest steps. We have to be patient and we have to be kind and show yourself some grace for every stage you're in. And I think that's a good coach. That's a good trainer. That's a good therapist. That's a good parent. There is like no wrong answer to support somebody in that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. One final question, and I gave you a little bit of a heads up. I don't know that we finalized this one, but your favorite song. You had mentioned "Hungry" by
Daryl Reagan. I think
Daryl
his
Reagan.
name, but I'm gonna.
And that's a good one.
I know, but I really driving here was like I really am a Public Enemy fan.
You are,
and and anything from A Tribe Called Quest, and
You're an Eminem fan.
Yeah, I'm a huge Eminem
fan.
Yeah. So I'm unsure if I can narrow it down clearly, but I think anybody that would really like to tap into some, let's say, grit or like bring up like anything that's going to get you going, it would be 90s hip hop.
Yeah.
90s, you cannot go wrong on that. Inspirational, I'm going to go back to that Hunger song.
Yes, that one's a good one.
There's something about that I think there's a lot of words in there that set to a good beat. I can listen to on repeat when I need, when I'm in a rowing sesh or I'm in a this. But just fun, feel good. And if you're not smiling, I am unsure what's wrong with you. I would say, Tribe. I'm going to keep going. Tribe Called Quest, a little Q-Tip. Tupac's not bad. Actually,
Tupac, yes.
So there's just some good ones. And honestly, hit it as highlights of any one of them. They were great.
Yeah.
It's a Beautiful Day. Isn't that Ice Cube? What a great song that is.
Yes.
I mean, that just...
Some Snoop.
Some Snoop, Gin and Juice. See, so like we could go on and on about this, but that's what I'm sticking to. And I thought of that on the way here as I was listening to Public Enemy. I'm like, did I just say like "Hungry" by Daryl? I'm like, no. So we had to cycle back to that.
I love it.
Yeah,
and that's what I think of when I think of you. I come into the gym, and that is what.
And listen,
playing.
if you really want to get happy, just do the ding dang wobble.
That's true.
I mean, are we joking? So good. So good. So
I love it. Well, Carolyn, this has been such a great conversation. I appreciate you carving out the time to do this and to be vulnerable and share your story of grit with our listeners. And I can't wait for future conversations. And I'll see you tomorrow, I think, because we're training.
Thank you.
Well, this has been Grit Files, and I'm your host, Laura Reynolds, signing off.